The SRX race officially has concluded from Eldora Speedway, and we see a lot of carnage, a lot of crashes, and Tony Stewart dominate and win all the heats and win the main event. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to the video. I just got done watching the SRX race from Eldora Speedway. We got quite a bit to talk about from this race. Let's go and talk about it. So, let's start off with heat number one. Heat number one was absolutely insane. They weren't able to get all 25 laps into heat one because there was a massive accident that took place about halfway through heat number one. Austin Dillon's car started overheating, and basically he broke the radiator. Something broke in the radiator, unfortunately, and no one had anywhere to go, and half the field ended up wrecking out, including Austin Dillon, who crashed out. Hailie Deegan had nowhere to go. She collided. Chase Briscoe ended up being involved. Coney Kanaan got a ton of damage. Marco Andrea was involved in the big accident, and Matt Kenseth got a tiny bit of damage as well, but he was able to continue. But this meant that Austin Dillon and most likely Tony Kanaan were not going to be able to race the rest of the evening. Now, Chase Briscoe would be able to go out later, but it would not be till the main event. But at this point, Tony Stewart had dominated heat number one and would win heat number one in dominating fashion. Heat number two would start on the pole. You had Austin Dillon actually on the pole. You basically had Matt Kenseth on the pole, and he actually would dominate the early portion of this race. Ryan Newman tried everything to get around Matt Kenseth in heat number two, but it could not get around him. But eventually, Tony Stewart, who had the fastest car tonight, he passed Matt Kenseth about halfway through and would get the lead in heat number two and would go on to win. Matt Kenseth, though, really impressed me tonight in this race as well. In the finishing second, we know that Matt Kenseth has not always been the greatest on dirt tracks. Matt Kenseth ended up finishing second. Great run for him. There were a couple crashes, I think, that ended up happening in this one. I think Ron Capps got some damage late in this race. Actually, Brad Keselowski near the end of the heat, he got into the outside wall as well and basically had a ton of damage. Was working on the car during the red flag. You also saw Ken Schrader hit the kill switch while having a very, very strong run tonight. Unfortunately, Ken Schrader's night kind of got a little bit thwarted and unfortunately finished 8th in the heat. So now we go to the main event. And this main event absolutely is probably the calmest point of this event, but there were a ton of cautions that ended up happening. You had the wreck between Newman and Ken Schrader about halfway through it. Ryan Newman was trying to pull a slide job on Ken Schrader, who was running third at the time, and Ken really had nowhere to go, and Ryan Newman kind of put a slide job on him, and Ken hit the outside wall, bringing the caution out. You also have Marco Andretti basically stalled early in the race as well, basically after crashing, I think, with Ron Capps, if I'm not mistaken, and he hit the outside wall, got a ton of damage as well. Then you had the Ron Capps and Ken Schrader accident ended up happening in the middle portion. But at this point, it comes down to 2 or 3 drivers. You have Tony Stewart, who's dominated pretty much every single lap. You've got Hailie Deegan, who's having her best run in a very long time in any series that she's run. And you've got Ryan Newman, who's really, really quick. There were a couple restarts first where Brad Keselowski actually spun earlier in the evening and then ended up spinning again and brought out the final caution of this race. Then it becomes a shootout between Tony Stewart, Hailie Deegan, and Ryan Newman. But then at this point, Ryan Newman's kind of faded, so it comes down to a shootout between Tony Stewart, Hailie Deegan. But Tony Stewart has such a dominant car that it really doesn't matter at this point. And coming off the final corner, Tony Stewart puts up a dominating clinic and wins the his 6th or 7th SRX race overall, I think it is, and also his first SRX race of 2023. Talk about utter domination. This is the first time in SRX history that a driver has won Heat 1, Heat 2, and the main event. Obviously, Tony Stewart owns the place, but this is Tony Stewart's playground. And when Tony Stewart is on it, he's completely on it. I know he struggled on the other types of tracks this year, but Tony Stewart is one of the greatest dirt racers we've ever seen. So fantastic run for Tony Stewart tonight. He absolutely earned this win. He had no doubt the best car in this race. Mass congratulations to Tony Stewart on picking up the victory in the SRX in really dominating fashion. Hailie Deegan finishes second. Absolutely impressive night for her. Best run I've seen for her in a very, very long time. I know she struggled in the truck series here. Some of it her fault, some of it not. But I want to give her props. She's been doing really good the last 2 weeks. Her truck's performance has been improving very, very slightly. And I think if her confidence is starting to come back. She's been lacking confidence. She even said in the post-race interview with Nicole Briscoe that she's been lacking that confidence. For her to finish second tonight is extremely impressive. I know we've given her a hard time, and a lot of people have given her a hard time, but when she runs good, we need to give her props. She had a fantastic run tonight. Thought she was going to have a chance to beat Tony. Tony gave her props as well, which is absolutely great to see Tony give Hailie Deegan props, especially on the dirt side of things. Great run for Hailie Deegan in second place. Ryan Newman finished third. Good run for Ryan Newman tonight. He's still not locked up the championship for the SRX yet at this current moment, but Ryan Newman was in contention most of the evening. Ryan Newman will likely basically have to just start the heats. He'll be the champion because Ryan Newman's been really good this year in the SRX. He's been the most consistent. He finishes third. Bobby Labonte finishes fourth. Labonte was quietly having a pretty solid run tonight. Was in the top 3 early, kind of faded a little bit near the end, but does end up finishing fourth, ran really good in the main event. Matt Kenseth finishes fifth. How about that for Matt Kenseth? Matt Kenseth may not be the greatest dirt racer in the world, but he was really, really impressive tonight. Ran top 5 and top 10 a lot of this event. It is a very solid job. Good run for Matt Kenseth. Very happy to see that Matt Kenseth was back in the SRX race. Marco Andretti finished as 6th. Marco Andretti in backup car was actually storming up to the field in the middle portion. Had some damage early, but he does recover to finish 6th. Chase Briscoe finishes 7th. Obviously, Chase Briscoe basically should not have finished 7th in this race, but because of the whole fun flag rule in the SRX, they put him on the lead lap, despite the fact that he crashed out and was out for 35 laps, said, you know what, you can still go on and win this race. If he would have won this race, I think a lot of people have been really, really pissed. It was good to see Chase get an opportunity to get back on the track because he did get back on the racetrack, but unfortunately he was with so much damage at this point that he was not going to be a massive contender. Ken Schrader finishes 8th. Ken actually had gone off the racetrack after the damage early and in the middle portion of the race, but he does recover to finish in 8th. Brad Keselowski finished 9th. He had a rough night, in my opinion, just overall struggled. I thought he was going to be a threat tonight. Unfortunately, Brad struggled. I know he wanted to run near Eldora, but sadly he struggled in tonight's race. And Ron Capps finishes 10th, the last place finisher of the drivers that started the main event. Ron Capps actually really impressive in heat number 1, but the car seemed to fade in the middle portion of heat number 2, and he never recovered throughout the evening. He finishes 10th. Austin Dillon finished 11th because he didn't get start, and Tony Khan also did not start, and he finishes in 12th place. So now, let's talk about the overall SRX race, and I'll give you my score of this event. Honestly, this probably was my least favorite SRX race of 2023. Not that this race is absolutely bad by any stretch of imagination. It was just probably the most boring SRX race. But this still was, all things considered, a pretty good race in my opinion. Yes, Tony Stewart completely dominated, but he had a lot of good battles behind him, and it was very, very entertaining at times. But also times it did get strung out, and it was kind of a little bit boring. But the cautions definitely helped, not the fun flag yells, which I'm glad there really weren't any, though there was one fun flag that did come in the end of this race. It kind of had benefited some drivers. But nonetheless, I think this race is pretty solid. I'm going to give tonight's SRX race overall an 8.5 out of 10. Actually, give this, 8.5 out of 10 is my score. This race is solid in my opinion. It was solid, pretty good in my opinion. For an SRX race, probably my least favorite one of the year, but I still enjoyed it, and I thought tonight's race was pretty good in my opinion. So, that is going to be for the SRX race review from Eldora. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Links go below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts about the SRX race at Eldora? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And congratulate Tony Stewart on picking up the SRX win as well. Tomorrow on the channel, we'll have a doubleheader on the channel. We'll have a NASCAR news video on the channel. We've got some SVG news that's come out basically in the last couple of hours we need to talk about. And we're also going to talk about the truck race from IRP. The playoffs do begin tomorrow night. Then on Saturday, we have the NASCAR Xfinity Series race from the Indy Road Course. And then on Sunday, we'll have the NASCAR Cup Series review from the Indy Road Course as well. It should be fun, really exciting. A great weekend coming up as well for fans of racing. We're also getting really close to 2,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you enjoyed today's video and you're new, make sure to subscribe. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching tonight's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR and SRX content on the channel like this. Next week is the season finale for the SRX, which will be one of my home states, Wheatland, Missouri. We'll be racing at Lucas Oil. Really excited about that. So see you guys there for that final race of the SRX. Take care, everybody.